I'm going to get back to my normal view. All right, Roger, if you want to take it, I will pin you to it. So.
Okay. Trying to get myself pinned up here. Okay. What we're talking about, I know Terry's seen it, but others may or may not, are these pins that are made to mimic the service and campaign ribbons. And usually we've been trying to take them when we go to Bennett or Merrimack Veteran Free Fishing Day or whatever, and hand them out free to any veteran, and they, you pick the one for wherever they themselves had served, and they, where they can put it in their hat, shirt, or whatever they want. And when I decided to make these things, I went through online and found some sources for the ribbons, and if put it all together in a binder.
Oh, that's cool.
Got a description for each ribbon, what its time frame and area or whatever locale that it's authorized for and that sort, as well as it has the recipe for that particular ribbon if you're trying to make it, because and that I have available if people want it as a can't remember. I think I have a Word document that I can send.
PDF. Or, yeah. Okay.
No, I think I've got it as a Word document with the embedded photos and stuff like that.
Nice.
So if you're interested in having the recipes and all that sort of thing, I'd be able to get it to you. I'm going to try and get my other camera on here. Oops, that didn't work. There it is. So
Autofocus.
it's an old camera, and that's about as good as it gets. We played with doing it from my laptop or using this one, and we decided that this one was as good as it would get. So in terms of trying to figure out, okay, how do you make this thing, how many colors, how many wraps? What I did initially was this is a 2-inch safety pin, whether you get it at Target, Joann's, Michael's, whatever, but it's 2-incher. And I always use this micro chenille. So it's about the smallest chenille that you can get. And to start out with, I just took and saw how many wraps can I get on a safety pin. And I get about 37. So then just looking at the pictures for the various pins and the colors, I kind of divided up the safety pin and roughed out about how much of that pin needed what color. And even when I'm making them, sometimes I'll take a marker or something and mark the midpoint, or sometimes, the quarter point as well, depending upon the ribbon. So as you're tying, you can gauge your progress as to whether you need to scrunch your wraps a little tighter just by pushing them together a little bit. If you're wrapping them too loose and you're going to run out of pin before you get all your colors and stuff on. So when you're actually tying it, you kind of eyeball it at the same time. I have the recipe of how many turns and which color. And most of the time that works out pretty good. But what I find sometimes is, it gets tight towards the end. And so the reason when I tie these, I usually leave the shank bare. I don't pre-wrap it to get a base or anything, because you want the turns that you put on there to be able to slide, so that if you need to, you can just give it a push, just like you're packing deer hair or something a little bit, so that you can get that last turn or two, particularly if it's a distinctly different color that you need in those last couple turns. The other thing when you're doing this, it's a lot of tying in and tying out. I try and make all my tie in and tie outs on one side of the pin and right on this horizontal side. So when someone pins it on with the other side showing, you don't see those. They almost disappear anyways when you're tying them in, but not quite. So tonight I just thought it, because it's a very simple one, relatively, do the Vietnam service medal. So it's a matter of, and I found on both gold and silver pins that a white thread works out pretty well for hiding in between the various colors and kind of disappearing within it. So it's just a lot of tying in, and got to stay pretty close. I usually make a pretty loose wrap to catch just the very end of that chenille. And 3 wraps is usually overkill, but 2 is about all you need. And I usually work to make certain that I got it right on this side where it's tied in. So let me start with the correct color. I'm surprised you didn't yell at me there, Terry.
I couldn't distinguish what color it was.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Roger.
So it's green. So I usually make a loose wrap, and sometimes while it's loose, I'll pull it back to where I have just the very end of that in there. And then I'll come down and I'll leave the thread. So as you wrap, it carries your thread underneath. So there's only 2 wraps of green to start out. And then tying it off, I found usually if you pull it up, you get it to where you can hold this almost horizontally and snug it in so that you know it's tight. So I've got the tie-in on this side, and then it's a matter of just taking the scissors, getting in real close and careful, and taking it off of there. And some, you'll find, depending upon the ribbon, sometimes you can leave, you can add another color in if it's only going to cover a couple turns and run it over top of the last color you were using. Now we got 7 turns of yellow here. And again, pull it up and get a tie-in to hold it there so that that tie-in is right on the back side. Now you go with the red, and you need 2 turns of red. Now this would be where I'll leave the yellow because it's only 2 turns of red and it goes right back to yellow again. So there's no sense making an extra tie off. All I do is kind of hold that in, that thread, so it doesn't, the chenille, so it doesn't move. Try and catch the very tip of it. And that's why I don't, like frequently with chenille, you'll pull off to leave just the core doing tie-ins. But I found it's harder to get it right where I want, and leaving that chenille fluff there actually gives the thread a little bit of something to bite into and hold it with only a couple turns. And some of these you have 2 or 3 colors, and you just, these thread cards and stuff will dangle, and you'd be surprised that they really don't get, it's not that hard to get them under control and pick up the color you want. So again, 2 wraps, that gives the red, then it's back to yellow for 4 wraps.
Roger, you got your shit together on this.
No kidding.
Well, I've tied a lot of them, but like I say, the main thing that you're technique wise to work out, it just gets so that your tie-off point stays right on the back side here. And then you can tie in right at the very beginning when you're starting a new color, and then you can make nice close cutoffs. So I'll do so it's another 2 wraps of red, and that's normally the center of the ribbon right there. And you can see from that mark, I've been wrapping maybe a little tight. And then you just carry on. So it'd be another 7 wraps.
Roger, I remember tying these at the veterans home, but you kind of perfected this after that, I guess, huh?
Yeah, worked at it there. I got most of it down while I was there. So again, you can see how I'm just over wrapping that yellow, and it tends to stay on this side and carry with the chenille and the thread pretty well. So this one should be 7. And then every once in a while, you let a little bit more off the card to keep it where you can work with it. I try not to keep too much thread out, otherwise you'll tangle up with these cards more than you want. Okay, now I should have cut that red off actually before. I was just not concentrating because I really didn't need it back there.
You were
So
just
what-
you were just showing off.
Yeah, I was just amazed that I'm remembering how to do this because I haven't done one of these in quite a while. So then it's back to the green. Yellow. Where the red. 2 turns of green. And then I just use a few half hitches here at the end to anchor it down. So doing that, if I looked at it, I ended up with a few turns here. I retied her. When I get more consistent, I decide whether or not I maybe wanted to add 1 turn appropriately and might be able to spread that out so it really went end to end and still keep the ribbon in proportions. And that's what you play with. It's a recipe. You see how you're tying once you get going on a couple, and then you start making those little adjustments. And then that gives you your ribbon.
That's
looks
great,
really
Roger.
But your tie-ins have to be, is what you really want to work on, because there are some ribbons like this one from those who participated in World War II.
Wow, that's a lot of color changing.
Yeah.
And it's like 2 turns, single turn of a color, a single turn of a color, a single turn of a color, a single turn of a color, you know.
Good
And
grief.
they keep changing on you all the way. So each one of those is an individual tie-in with only a couple spots where really you carry colors back behind it very much. So
That's really cool.
It is.
Yeah. There's not, so it's relatively simple. It's just a matter of kind of having, the recipe book or whatever to start with, and being consistent on your tie-ins. And see if I flip this around. You can see a little bit more variation and stagger there where the tie-ins are on the backside. Maybe.
Yeah.
But you keep them there, and every once in a while, if your tie-in's not quite off, you may have to grab and give it just a little twist, just to kind of keep it there. The same way if the tail on a fly or something isn't quite straight, or the legs, you kind of grab them and work them around the shaft of the hook. You do the same thing in the pin so that you can keep those tie-ins nice and straight, same way as you pack it or whatever, if you've run yourself out of room by just a turn or two. And there you go. So anybody that wants a copy of this recipe book or whatever, I'll send it to you. The one I made, it's all services with the exception of the Purple Heart and Prisoner of War are the only two ribbons that I tied that aren't just service or campaign. I didn't try and tie silver stars or bronze stars or distinguished service medals or any of those. It's just kind of like, hey, where were you?
Hey,
type
Roger,
of-
these
Yeah.
are my dad's. These are my dad's ribbons.
Hang on, I gotta clear this pin.
They've
Oh, yeah.
they've faded a little bit, but you captured them really well. I'm really impressed.
So,
It's nice.
yeah. So that's the process, and I'd be glad if anybody else wanted to make them, because I literally, let me switch these cameras. Hang on. Some of you have seen this. And it'd be nice if we had other people. I just have a case, that I labeled with the different ones, and trying to keep around, 10 ribbons, 10 of each ribbon in there. So when we go someplace, it's usually enough for some to get non-service go in Afghan and Iraq. I'd like to keep a few more, but the more people we'd have tying them, the easier would be to keep a stock on hand, or for have more than one person to where, hey, if I'm not there, then who's got the
Yeah.
case ribbons? I have yet to kind of, whether Amy to take it or me, but I mean, I've got like about 3 of these boards. A couple of them are framed in wood to keep up, to help draw people's attention to the fact that they're there. So that's enough of my time, unless you guys got any questions.
That was impressive. It was really cool.
Yeah,
Not gonna lie, I'm kind of interested in doing it myself.
yep. You could get some of
And,
that micro chenille.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
your
only
man-
thing that I'd mention on these micro chenille, the only thing where it gets to be a little difficult, blues and greens are not sold. I had to put together, do woodworking, so I had some dyes I use for doing my finishing and stuff. So I had to dye my own. I just bought some white and then dyed it. To get the shade just right, like I have a dark blue and a light blue for some of them, I kind of have to pull them out of the dye and lay it down on a piece of paper towel or something, and gently blot at it to pull out enough dye to where it finally reaches kind of the right shade that I want. But that's was the only kind of tricky part. But otherwise, Feathercraft has all of these, and all of mine reimbursed from the Healing Waters program to get all the various colors and stuff that you might need for most of them. That ends up being $40 to $50 just to, get all the different micro chenilles that and colors that you would need.
Very neat, though.
Right.
Next.
Next. Well, very neat. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, thank you.
That was great.
Yeah.
And I've watched Roger give some of those away at events, and these people almost come to tears.
Oh, yeah.
And he's given some to the children of fathers that passed away and stuff like that. It's real emotional.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
grandpa served in World War II in the Army.
Yeah, and it's nice to be able to do that, and that's why I still try and keep one or two of, the World War II campaigns and stuff there, because you never know when someone's still, whether you still find one of those old guys hanging on that's,
Mhm.
old guys, or sometimes, son, daughter, or somebody like that that says, yeah, and it just helps them remember them.
Do you remember that a retired captain who was who was a doctor for damn it. Oh shit. Who is the Pearl Handled general?
Patton,
Patton?
Yeah, he was in Patton's army. And I don't know if you were there that day. So I asked him about it, and he said he was a son of a bitch.
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
that's what the history books pretty much describe him as.
Mhm.
So. And then the other thing I did do on some of these, I never succeeded real well on it, was trying to, sometimes I had palmer it, is that the right word? Wrap it up with a background, just very lightly, of like a service color, a green, a blue, or a red, or a little bit of a hackle. Or I also tried feathers, and tried to marry up red, white, and blue feathers that could maybe be attached to the end and background that are add on to it. I never succeeded very well in finding a good way of doing that, but a lot of talent out there amongst you guys. You might, think of that or something else that could, help make it more significant for somebody.
Now, Terry, you said when we do our little thing in Pierre Marquette, no hooks, we're going to be doing pins similar to that?
Right. Now, on occasion, well, usually we're so busy, we are slammed. We may have, if there are 3 or 4 of us tying at a time, you may have a row of 20 kids each.
Okay.
And there may be slack times when you don't have. And on those slack times, if you want to bring some hooks and give them to the parents so that the kids can fish with them, that's wonderful. But,
Okay.
we're not giving live hooks out to kids.
Yeah. Because I'm just trying to think of what I could do. I'm thinking about trying to I'll go shopping before, we got plenty of time. I try to order some red, white, and blue material for like woolly buggers,
Yeah.
some
Well,
kind of
now-
like,
You can't spend a whole lot of time on each fly. So what I've done is either just take 3 different color feathers and wrap them on the hook and slam them, or 3 different color dyed deer hair
okay,
and wrap them on the hook. And I mean, it is like, here, enjoy this,
okay.
So if, hopefully it won't be that way, but usually it is, because these kids are given a card or a map of a place, and they have to get punches on there. They have to go through, I don't know, 10 or 20 of the locations of all these people that are providing information on different parts of sports and stuff so that they can go fish in the stocked tank there. So, you know, you don't want to be so slow that nobody gets through your line and gets their card punched.
Sounds like
Gotcha.
some real chunky or flashy chenille of different colors that you could fill up a.
Yeah.
Or like
You can in a
like a
heartbeat.
midge or something would work too. Because
Well,
that's just two things.
tying on a safety pin.
Oh, well, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you gotta, yeah, if you're gonna come, just come up with something. It doesn't have to be what I've ever done. I'm always interested in what somebody else comes up with. So please. But just find something, tie it on a pin, and try not to stick yourself too much while you're tying that sucker on.
Have you ever
Oh.
taken a card or anything with some actual lures, just as an example, that they can see what a real lure looks like versus?
That would be good if you had time to explain all that. I think that'd be a great thing. Maybe while somebody else is tying, and if there were a couple of extra guys that weren't tying at the time, maybe taking a break, they might be able to talk about a couple of different flies that are on that card that you come up with. I think that would be wonderful.
Were you just talking to me?
So I'll have to try to come up with something, like you said, maybe, let me do Chris real quick. So maybe I'll try to get like 3 different, the red, white, and blue marabou feathers. And if you put
Yeah.
3 on,
Yeah, I've done that
Kind of.
before. Yeah, you put them all together and just spin them on and you're done.
yeah,
And the kids, you know, there are very few kids that are there to want to actually learn how to tie a fly. And
yeah,
in the past, the Ringhausen is by name, forget his first name, but he's like the director of volunteer services or something like that for Pierre Marquette, and his daughter and a couple of her friends have come in past years. They're probably in college or married off now, but they were in the Girl Scouts. And initially we taught them to tie. Well, within the first hour, they had taken, I mean, we had been tying for some period of time. They came up, we showed them how to tie. They took over and ran the place. It was beautiful. And they came back at least 3 years, maybe 4 years. But again, it has been, well, we got flooded out the 1 year. So I guess it's been 3 years since we've been able to get there.
because I know the state park. The wife and I usually make a couple trips there a year just to the lodge for the Friday dinner they have.
Oh, yeah.
So we do that, and we kind of do the whole Grafton run. So we go from Grafton to Pierre Marquette, take the ferry across. So sometimes it's the lodge, sometimes it's Fast Eddie's. So it's, you know.
There you go.
It's a
Now
nice little trip.
they're gonna want you to park in a designated area and then take a tram or a bus over. Well,
Okay,
depending upon how much material you have, I usually bring chairs and other things so I can be comfortable as opposed to being on those either bench seats or folding chairs. I bring a camp chair with a cushion and sometimes an extra table so I can get it to the height that I want
Yeah.
when I'm tying, and my materials and tools. So I said, I asked them, I've got to unload. Let me go up to the visitor center and I'll unload there. So that's usually what I do.
all right. Yeah, I think I'm
But,
gonna do the 3 colors of marabou, and that'll make a kind of fun little pin. You just tie it in and then get all 3 together, palmer them across and tie it off at the end, and you're good to go.
Yeah, and that'll go by quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, yeah, that'd be great. That'd be wonderful.
Right.
And they will bring us a box lunch, and usually they will put a ice chest with water within an area where the volunteers can run and get a couple of bottles of water and come back and forth for that. And then we're usually under some trees, which helps depending upon the weather. And then you take breaks going over to the bathroom back at the visitor center and across the street stuff. So
yeah, so it's outdoors then?
Yeah.
Would it be good if we brought one of those, little tents to give us a little shade, or are we good?
Oh, well, they have had historically, who knows what's going to happen this year. They have a lean-to made out of canvas, I think, if I remember correctly. And that covers you from the sun, but we're going to be under the trees usually. And we only cover in the area. You get a lot of friends real quick.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
But yeah, I don't know. There's no reason why, if you want to bring a pop-up tent, that you can.
Yeah. So
if we have enough people, that way you'll be able to spread out farther at our site, at our location.
Yeah. So I've got one in my truck already.
Make yourself comfortable.
Yeah. So I don't know if we're sitting.
What was that?
I don't know if we're sitting in the heat, if it's going to get, or the sun, but it is October, but so it should be a little bit cooler, but.
I'm hoping, yeah.
Yeah.
But
sounds like fun.
You may be in short sleeves, and you may need a hooded sweatshirt in October.
Yeah.
You never.
It's Missouri.
Yeah.
If you don't like the weather, just wait. Or I like to
Absolutely.
describe it as misery.
It's usually
not Missouri.
yeah. It's usually a fun event, though.
Yeah,
And,
we're looking forward to it.
some of the kids are just there to grab and go, and some of them are actually curious. Some of the families will come up and say, "Hey, you actually tied a real fly for us, and we went over to Montauk. We caught a fish."
Oh, that's cool.
They're just so excited. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
See how it works out. So what else we got to talk about tonight?
I know we've got the Veterans Free Fishing Day coming up at Montauk. So I know for Chris, Kevin, and I, and my wife will be there fishing too. That'll be our first time there. So I know Les gave us a little hints on what we should be tying and bringing. I'm guessing probably whatever works at Bennett will work at Montauk. So just trying to make sure we have everything ready.
Yeah. So what's wait a minute. Montauk is Saturday.
This Saturday.
And Lane Springs is Sunday.
I have no idea about Lane Spring. I don't know if that's another trout area, or is that just another bluegill gar?
No, there are some spring-fed cold water. There's some small trout in there, and the Bennett blue crackleback.
Okay.
That usually works pretty good. And then they also have
smallmouth.
Smallmouth, and I caught a bunch on the Captain.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I never catch fish. So
I saw you catch a gar on a captain. So
That's right.
it was a crazy day, but fun.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
And even-
When anytime I catch fish, it's crazy day.
Yeah, you did good. You caught 2 of them, right?
Yeah,
2.
unreal. But it's a really pretty place, and except that it's going to be on a Sunday, that it can get busy.
Okay.
Close to Rolla, a lot of school kids come down there and splash around and stuff.
Gotcha.
Excuse me, I got tickles today.
Yeah, next year for sure, I'll find out, trout busters and then make sure I get a spot early, or something early, because they were booked up, which, trying to find something 5 days before, just a little bit packed.
Yeah. Well, they have typically had it in the spring in May.
Okay.
So did I send you that information on Jim
Yes.
Wall? Okay.
Yeah,
good.
so we'll be showing up a full day of fishing on Saturday, and then before we head back out to Rolla, that's where we have our hotel room. We'll swing by there first
Oh,
and kind of see how it's all going and kind of say hi to everyone. And
okay.
we're here next year for sure for it.
Yeah, you know how to get to Pinecrest?
Yeah, I got it on my phone, so
Okay,
that's how
good.
you GPS everything. So
Good. It's not that hard.
yeah,
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 you just
pretty
go-
close.
Just look for the
Over.
loud group and the big fire.
Gotcha.
There you go.
The smell of barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like fun. I've been kind of watching for a couple years, and yeah, it's something I want to try out. So I'll make sure once they announce it for 2022, Arjun, I'll book a site real quick.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, that's a tough part is getting a reservation.
It's-
Keep thinking I need to make reservations for next year.
You
Everything I'm
do,
missing this year.
especially
Yeah.
if it's Bennett Spring, they open it up to a year in advance now. And, there are people just booking it. With me still working, it's kind of hard to guess if I'm gonna have to cancel or not. Those that are retired, they're booking them up, and now it's more Hidden Valley as I could try to get into those. Because they're a little bit bigger. And if I have to, I could go into the other loops for Bennett, but that loop 1 where all the full hookups, that gets packed up quick.
Yeah.
Hey, Les, do you know why they went to Pinecrest this year?
Because the other place was starting to overcharge them and not be as welcoming, I guess.
Oh, really?
And there was a consensus that they enjoy the current and Montauk better as far as the fishing goes.
Okay.
So,
Vinny, you
Pinecrest
guys,
is where it started, where they had their first trout bus.
Right.
Yeah, I gotta jump out the meeting real quick, guys. I just wanted to tell y'all before I did it. I will see you this weekend.
Yep, we'll
Okay,
see
Chris,
you.
have a good night.
You too, guys. See you later.
All right, you
Chris.
take care.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah, I knew that there was some conflicts with Hidden Valley, but I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how bad it was, but I guess it was enough to make them start looking elsewhere. So,
Yeah. Well, everybody who had a big trailer really liked that place with the flat level pads and pull throughs and all that stuff.
oh, at Hidden Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes it easy.
yeah, I just have a tent, so it doesn't matter.
Have any of you guys ever run around or have any experience up by Mark Twain Lake? I know it's not a trout area, but
Yeah, I used to go there when I had my boat a long time ago.
That's when I had a boat and I was with the ex-wife. We still had a camper and a boat. And different type of fishing we did there. You know, we would do a lot of crappie fishing, but then at night, the girls loved when we would put out those catfish trot lines. And, you know, they had so much fun doing that, you know, where it was kind of, we'd play that from that TV show, Deadliest Catch. All right, girls, let's go check the pots. And we'd go there and, you know, check them, and we'd pull up a lot of channel cats, which were good to eat. But once in a while, because the water clarity, you only could see like a foot or two deep. You're pulling up, and all of a sudden when you see you got a blue or a flathead and the head's bigger than yours, you know, I'd kind of, all right, girls, give me the gloves, and they'd be squealing because they knew it was a big fish. And when I had a big, you know, 30-pound catfish, they would be going nuts. It was a good time. It was a lot of crappie fishing, you know, and actually
Yeah,
it's pretty decent.
any places that you could fish from shore, or is it pretty much need a boat?
There are places, and I haven't been there in a while. There was one like something called like Turkey Roost or Turkey Point, and it's kind of near the Ray Barron Corps of Engineers campground, and that's where we would normally go. And I can't remember, I'd have to look, but it was like Turkey Roost or Turkey Point, and there was good fishing there, and that's where we would take the girls, and you could fish off there. But it's easier with a boat for sure, but you can find areas to fish. Even if you're near Ray Barron camping, there's Blackjack Marina. And I see a lot of people will get towards the boat ramps, but then walk along the shore 20, 30, 40 feet. And that's usually good fishing in that cove too. So you could find them. It's just, I haven't done it in 8 years now, I think. I haven't.
I'll have time to look around and see what kind of mischief I can get into. But,
Yeah.
which campground are you going to be at, Roger?
what is it, Indian Creek?
Oh, I
It's a-
see.
It's a Corps of Engineer campground.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
a big
good one too. Yeah,
So it was, seeing as that one's on the back side of the lake, it was about the only one kind of last minute that had opening. So, which was fine with me.
It's a pretty lake. It's not like Lake of the Ozarks or anything. They restrict that the only houses you'll see on the lake are those that were there before they, you know, dammed it up and flooded it. So it's open. You don't see a whole, you know, like condos after condos. It's a very pretty lake. So and if you could get some catfishing in, that lake is really good for that. Trying to think of, we haven't been there in years. It's a good lake though.
Yeah,
Think of
Well.
anything
we're going up just to have a relaxing, good time, you know.
I think Hannibal
Do
isn't,
it.
yeah, Hannibal isn't too far from there. So
right.
a neat little day trip in there that the wife and I would go in there and
There's Hannibal, and there's what, Onondaga Caves or some such.
Onondaga.
Yeah.
I thought
And
that was a little bit further down, but they got the Mark Twain caves there, which are pretty neat. They do a good
yeah,
job.
maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, so they got some things to do, you know, like Hannibal's kind of neat.
Yeah, it is.
Touristy area for it.
Yeah, Onondaga is out by Uzo.
It's off 44. I know my daughters like that too. That was one of their favorite places. They'd always call that Onondaga. And we go to Onondaga. But yeah, I actually drove past there when we went to the one fishing trip we did on 4th of July weekend. I mean, right through Onondaga, so it was pretty neat.
Well, I'll be able to bring back an updated report.
Yeah,
There
for
you
sure.
go.
Tell us where you went. Because this was all before fly fishing. So it was all ultra lights and stuff like that. Fishing with minnows, you know, for the crappie. So, but yeah, you'll have to let us know how it went. So I think Turkey Point, I haven't finished or fished near there a lot, so not sure at all. It's a pretty lake though.
It'll be an explorer.
Yeah,
Hopefully we'll all, wherever we are this next week, have good, enjoy some really nice weather for a change.
yeah.
I hope so.
'Cause I haven't really done any fishing since that June 5th trip we took out to Merrimack. And that was the last time I really went, you know, because I had to kind of take it easy for my arm. Oh, and then we did the one at what was that, the Huzzah Valley, you know,
Yeah,
I kind of did that for a little bit. So that was fun. So this one will be a first really big, long day. As we, to Amy, she said, we'll start. I already tried to do some research. She said, we'll start behind the lodge and then work our way up to the fly fishing only. I guess there's only 2 zones at Montauk. There's fly fishing and only, and then pretty much open from there. So we'll be starting at the open area. And when I kind of mentioned behind the lodge, they said that's a very popular place. So we might get crowded out right away, but I think that's where we're going to meet up to hand out the fishing tags anyway. So once we're done with that, we just walk behind the lodge. And
Up by the spring is good too. There's a strip that people fish a lot. You go up to the spring and basically wade down probably 200-300 yards. It goes around a bend, but there's a lot of deep pools and some ripples that you can get them pretty good.
cool. Because I've never been there. So this is completely new to me. And I kind of reached out on a Facebook page and I asked for advice, and some people actually gave me the laughing emoji that they weren't going to tell me where their favorite spots were. I'm like, that's fine. It's like, I'll just look for the crowds. But should be fun.
now, last time Montauk's the one where you can go up and they have like the larger lake that is catch and release and has a handicap area where you walk around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I saw that they called it like Lake Montauk or something like that. So
Yeah, it's up by the hatchery.
yeah, so I'm just looking at maps, so I don't know how that works, you know, so. But if it's catch and release, that's for the most part all we will be doing, so should be good. So the basic flies work there, same that work for Bennett work there, would be my guess.
For the most part, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah, because that's one that goes on down and it goes by the Tanvat hole. That's just outside the park.
Yeah, it's outside the wire. Then you're getting into blue ribbon stuff.
So, yeah, there'd be plenty there to explore.
that should be fun. All right, it's 7 o'clock, so I guess we'll head on out. It was still a good meeting.
Yeah.
And then we'll see on at Mark Twain, and I think Terry and Les, I'll see you guys at Montauk. So
Yeah,
if you see the confused looking guy, that's me.
all right, you guys be well.
Yep, you
We'll
guys
see
take
you
care.
there.
All right.
Take
Thanks,
care,
Dick.
everybody.
We'll see you soon.
Yep, bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.